Not yet. Yeah, no. Hi,
We are live.
we are live now. Yeah, we've been hanging around for like 10 minutes, so we were just chatting. So, welcome to the Semantic Agent. This is a podcast about how meaning is structured, how machines understand the web, how intelligent agents are changing search, knowledge, and the digital experiences. I'm Beatrice Gamba, Head of Innovation at WordLift, and each month I'll be speaking with researchers, builders, practitioners working at the intersection of AI, semantics, and search. This podcast exists for one main reason, as we are moving from a web designed for humans to a web increasingly interpreted and acted upon by machines. Most conversation about AI are still focusing on the interfaces. Well, this podcast wants to focus on the infrastructure. For more than 20 years, the web has been organized around documents and keywords. Search engines retrieved pages, users interpreted meaning, but something is changing as today the LLMs, the knowledge graph, the autonomous agents are not just retrieving the information, but reasoning over it. So they are composing answers, making decisions, taking actions on behalf of people. So this raises a new question, right? So if machines are now the primary readers of the web, how should the web itself be designed? So this question sits at the center of what we are going to explore here. And the title of the podcast, Semantic Agent, reflects these two ideas coming together. So the semantics, not as a theory, but as an infrastructure of these structured meaning, entities, relationships, ontologies, and all of these systems that allow machines to understand context rather than just strings of text. And then, secondly, the agents, the software systems that are capable of planning, reasoning, and acting across all of these environments. So when these two meet, something new emerges, is emerging. So agents stop guessing, meaning statistically, and start operating on what's more explicit, which is the knowledge. So throughout this series, we will explore how this transition is happening in practice and not just in research papers. And for this first episode, I wanted to start with someone who has been working on semantic technologies long before the current AI wave made them mainstream. He's someone who has consistently argued that structured knowledge is the missing layer between content and intelligence. And you can already see him because today's guest is Andrea Volpini. He's the CEO and co-founder of WordLift, which is a company focused on helping organizations structure their knowledge so machines can understand and act on it. Obviously, Andrea and I work in the same organization, which is WordLift, which make this conversation slightly different from just a traditional interview. So rather than an introduction, this is more of an ongoing dialogue made public, and I am very excited about this. And our goal here is not to explain the ideas we already agree on, but we want to challenge the assumptions and unpack how these concepts hold up in practice. I'll let Andrea himself introduce himself.
Thanks, Bea. Yeah, it's great. There is a conflict of interest. Your first podcast is with someone who has been working with you for quite some times. But I think the audience is also, people we know, which makes it great. So there is a welcoming community. I love the idea that, we have this group of people that have one way or another cross paths with us, and I think that there is a lot of value in bringing this energy and ideas together. So I'm Andrea Volpini, and yes, excited to start.
Great. So let's start digging into it. So you've said that in your articles and publicly that we are no longer optimizing pages, but training machines. So that's true. What does the job of SEOs actually become in the next 5 years?
Right. Yes, I've been, I think, moving from the notion of creating content for humans to creating data for machine for a very long time. So I've been dedicating a significant part of my life to express meanings that machine could understand. And of course, I was there 2022 to suggest that SEO should become prompt engineers way before ChatGPT was introduced. And then I was the first to say prompt engineering is no longer needed, and you need to start defining policies. I think that the notion of defining a policy is still valid. It's still applicable in 2026. And so I think there are a couple of considerations that we want to make. First, who's reading the web? Who do you think reads the web? And that's I think that's the starting point. We have to set some common ground. Vast majority of the content that is read is no longer read by humans, and this has been already like this for years. So okay, let's assume that machines are taking on, and very few people read, which is kind of a sad reality, but it's pretty solid. Again, we don't want the machine to be polluted by useless content, and so we have to start thinking, okay, quality for humans has been encoded and defined over the years in terms of, for example, the clarity of the information architecture, the readability, the criteria of EAT according to some of Google best practices, and there are a lot of indication on how content should be defined in terms of quality for the human readers. However, very little has been done in regards to AI agents, and so because we don't want to have a web of malicious AI agents, we want them to be as friendly and useful as possible. We need an alignment, and so that's why I'm very much focused on the policy. What is a policy? Then we can argue that, but it's very important.
Right. So in a way, because we started mentioning like the SEO as an industry, so do you think that this means that SEOs have always been evolving? The role of SEOs has always evolved in time. So does this mean that it's now closer to content engineering than marketing? Because oftentimes it's been associated with marketing function.
I think that what we're witnessing right now in the SEO community is that there are a lot of transformation in place, and a lot of our SEO fellows are working in product. They are working into growth or marketing, and some of them are also venturing into the AI space. And this is exactly what I expected a few years back to happen, because of course SEO is a discipline that it covers a broad range of skills, and there are so many different type of SEOs that right now I don't think I think there is way more need than before of SEO, because intelligence is evolving on the foundation of search. And so that's a crucial part, right? When I started to envision that the SEO function would have been transformed, I was expecting exactly search to become function of intelligence. And now that is happening in front of our eyes, and we're also out of monopolistic environment to some extent, and this brings a lot more opportunities for different type of experiments and approaches, and so it's party time for SEO.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be an SEO. but as it has always been. So we said that this is not, like you said, this is not a change in tactics. In fact, I mean, it's still the same optimization for quality for humans and machines, but it's more of a change in how systems are interpreting the web, which brings us to the next layer. As you talk about a transition from retrieval system to reasoning systems, what breaks first when companies try to operate with a reasoning web mindset?
Yeah, so let me clarify a couple of things first. It's a new environment, and we need to work on defining quality for machine. This hasn't been done. We cannot translate what we think is quality for a human being one-to-one and apply it to machine. So this is an area that needs to be developed. There's no yet a notion of what is quality for content when the primary reader is a machine. And there is work to be done there. And some of this work belongs to the SEO community. Some of this work will be done by people working into the various fields of language training and deep learning. And so that's an area that it's open. And the other point that I wanted to clarify, I mean, after 25 years now, the environment is different. So yes, some of the old techniques still apply. However, we are into an everywhere search type of environment, and so it's way more thriving than it used to be a few years ago. Because a few years ago we were all focused on, a primary interface and gatekeeper that was Google. We still are, for the vast majority of our work. However, we start to see and analyze how, let's say, Perplexity works, how Gemini is different. We learned from the VP of search of Google that Gemini and Google search might converge or might totally diverge. They don't even know to some extent, and it's very hard for them to understand how the future will unfold because of the legacy that they do have with the business model. So it is a different environment. There are new challenges. However, some of the techniques, especially right now, the more aggressive geo approaches really sound like SEO in the 1990s. Yes, that's true.
And getting on a more practical advice, so how can companies gear up to operate within this reasoning web mindset?
Yeah. So what is the reasoning web? First, let's clarify a little bit. So the reasoning web is this notion of an agentic system that is a reasoning trails that inform how search is going to be applied. And this is a big change in a traditional RAG system, for example, because in a traditional RAG system you have embeddings. And then you have an LLMs that synthesize basically, the documents that are semantically closer to the query. However, in a reasoning RAG system like Google AI Mode, there is a thinking models that has to go through the user intent and of course now some hyper-personalized set of information like your data in Gmail or your calendar and needs to then infer what needs to be searched in order to respond to that query. So this is a huge shift from the agentic web to the reasoning web. The big change is that we are dealing with thinking engines or reasoning engines. Now, before we think about search, we have to think about how do we influence these reasoning chains in order, to be found or to be understood. So that's big. Because it's not just about the retrieval layer that we can optimize, for example, by being visible and having a proper sitemap. If I don't have a proper sitemap, of course, I can't, think in terms of reasoning. However, if I do have a proper sitemap, but my content doesn't fit with the reasoning approach of a model that needs to search information for a potential new customer, then it's not going to work either. I might be visible in traditional search, but I'm not going to be visible in a conversational search where there is a reasoning engine. So this is a very important, I think, step forward.
So if reasoning systems require a different foundation, let's say, so the question then becomes what that foundation actually is. So in research paper that we published at WordLive, so structured linked data is described as a memory layer for agent-based systems, as we said. So if semantics becomes the memory rather than just the markup, what does that change in how we design websites and digital architectures?
Yeah, I think that the switch that we need to make is on how we need to process data into our systems. What is the data pipeline that we have, and what is the metadata layer that we expect to obtain as output. Because a reasoning system will need, first and foremost, edges between entities. And so what type of edges are needed in order to be found? So the way in which we are currently working in the R&D front is on two sides of the problem. One side is how can content be visible to machine without creating content duplication? I am not in favor of creating a markdown version for each and every page. This is not going to end well because there's going to be a lot of risks in doing so. Content duplication on one side, and also potential malicious manipulation of the markdown, because again, the human eye, while extremely limited, it still provides a layer of trust to the system. So we want to follow the best practices and the existing W3C standard to speak with the machine without decoupling the content for machines and humans. So that's one side of the problems that we want to address. So what is the best way to express context to a system? The second part of the problem that we are trying to work on, and that hopefully helps the community understand, what is the direction when setting up, for example, a new property, is what is the reasoning that an agent needs to make in order to come with the most accurate response? Because we want to create a structure of content, of semantics that enables this agent to infer correctly the answer and even to come up with new knowledge. So one of the metrics that I'm starting to look at is in terms of policy design is how probable is that the system can infer a new piece of information that is valid for the human as well as for the machine that doesn't exist in the pre-existing knowledge base, because that's foundational for the reasoning web. So these are the two areas, like making sure that the data is accessible and can be computed by machine, and ensuring that the structure and the scaffolding around information is sufficient for the machine to reason and maybe create new evidence, new information, new research.
What does the memory mean in this context? the knowledge, the contextual grounding, or something else?
So memory is a very large field in today's AI design, system design. I think that to make it super simple, memory is not what has happened, but is what is going to inform the future. This is extremely important difference. We tend to see memory as something that crystallized what has happened in the past. However, memory for humans as well as for agents is something that needs to shape what's going to happen in the future. Now, if we look at memory in this sense, then we need to understand what are the pieces of information that can infer something that hasn't happened. And so that's why, edges inside a knowledge graph, the way in which they are constructed, can help the system be smarter. So that's memory, I think, for me now.
Yeah, right. So always in this sense, so can we say that a website will become more of a user interface on top of this knowledge system?
A website is a manifestation for the humans, yes, 100%. It is an artifact, and Marianne is I'm also excited when she writes something, because she has good ideas. So a website is an artifact for humans. Yes, a website is an artifact for humans. However, I think that it needs to be created starting from knowledge, because that's what information is really about. So I think that in traditional website design, we have always started with personas, for example, or intents. And then, we started to draw a tree of content areas. And then, we speak with the SEO team and we try to attach, buckets of keywords. I think that this is all gone, and we have to start from, the ontological core of the organization. What is this organization known for? And then some of this knowledge might manifest in a website.
Yeah. So we move from content keywords to structured memory, so acting on a structured memory, and then agents start using that memory to act. And of course, we know that WordLift is experimenting with all of these agentic storefronts where AI can execute transactions. So when AI starts acting instead of answering, what new risks appear, and how is WordLift shaping agentic SEO?
So I always see these multiple steps for an AI agents to understand, the subject. The first layer is an entity domain, and so it's made of concepts and relationships between these concepts. The second layer, it's a lexical graph. I call a lexical graph all the mathematical representation of chunks of content that belong to specific RDF predicates. An RDF graph has many advantages, but it's not the best, not always the best way to find the piece of information that you're looking for, or at least it's only part of the system. So in neural search, we've been combining now for many years these two graphs, the entity graph and the lexical graph. Building a lexical graph means understanding, of course, the query that the user is gonna make, and the semantic space and then by means of fine tuning and retraining, we can build embeddings that allow us to characterize the specific attributes of the entity in the graph. So the two graphs are linked because we are modeling the semantics of the predicates inside the RDF graph with embeddings. And then we can combine these two ways. And of course, there are different disciplines in this specific space. Now, when an agent arrives and finds the content that needs, depending on, of course, what is the task at hand, he needs to act on it. And in some cases, an action can be as simple as booking a meeting. In some other cases, maybe it's as simple as buying a bottle of water. There are experiments, like I'm totally fascinated these days by this website called Rent a Human, where an agent can rent a human being and ask it to, I don't know, go and manifest or go and scream out loud something. And so without getting to this extreme, but every entity needs a set of actions that the agent can act on. And so this is the third layer. So that's how I think the agents can start taking advantage. Now there is a lot of development around WebMCP these days, and I'm a strong supporter of the WebMCP. We have actually integrated WebMCP into audit.wordlift.io. And then what is WebMCP? It's really the new schema, because it's this new interoperable action layer that exposes the DOM of a web page to an AI agent that doesn't need to process all the chunky HTML, but can immediately access, for example, the actions behind a form or the information behind the product page. So I think that these are examples of how then these actions can be made available.
Because I think agentic SEO is still like a discipline that is being defined these days. So when we say agentic SEO, what is actually being optimized then? It's the data or it's the website? What are we optimizing? How do we optimize for the web of agents?
I think that we optimize against the optimal agentic experience. So we want for the agent to have smooth and fruitful interaction with our knowledge. And we might or might not need the HTML manifestation to achieve that. We only need the HTML manifestation because we want to keep this dual nature of the information being, accessible to both humans and machine at the same time, so that we can remain in a trustworthy environment. As I mentioned before, the human eyes do bring this level of trust within this ecosystem. But we are optimizing for the agentic experience. And so, for example, when I decided to add the WebMCP to the audit, this is a web application free for all to test how agentic friendly is your page. First and foremost, I wanted the tool to be friendly to agents. And so we are effectively optimizing for the agentic experience. So we're not optimizing the content or the data. We're kind of doing both, but we're looking at how is the experience of the agent on that front. So now an agent gets on the application and via WebMCP can see that he can add a URL and he can run the audit. Very good. Then the agent via WebMCP knows that the first one is free and it doesn't need to provide any indication about its provenance. At the second request, however, it will be presented with a web form. And so we'll need to learn a little bit more about why he wants to use the tool. And so that's I think it's a better experience than the web page that we had before. The other day I was working on another experiment, and I started with the agent in mind. I said, okay, I want to provide agent WordLift with a clear understanding of the amount of chunks being updated across the web for entity A. And so the entire development was done with the purpose of delivering this experience to agent WordLift.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. So, if agents are acting on top of all these knowledge and data layer, there's also like a deeper layer then that most users never see. So on one of your latest articles, you ran analysis of ChatGPT's entity layer, and now it suggests interfaces hide a deeper semantic infrastructure. So are we moving toward the web that humans no longer fully see? And how much humans must see of this web then?
So again, based on the principle of trust, humans needs to be able to see what the agent sees. Decoupling is dangerous, and I'm not in favor of that. Nor I am in favor of any solution that is centralized. The hidden semantic layer and the analysis that I regularly do of the ontology behind a system like ChatGPT or Perplexity, of course, of Gemini, we know more because Gemini is leveraging the knowledge graph and the different knowledge bases that Google has been working on and nurturing for decades now. But when I look at these ontologies, the reason is that humans have a terrific ability to connect dots, to understand the context. Sometimes, of course, we get it wrong and we hallucinate, but we're definitely better than existing agents in grasping the context. Also, because we are multisensual beings, and we have a body that allow us to move around. The soon machine will also have a body, but for now they can only rent the body of a human with system like Rent a Human. But that is to say that when we look at the semantic layer of ChatGPT, we are trying to understand what are the pieces of information that ChatGPT needs in order to provide a more reliable response to the user throughout the conversation. And so we can see that, of course, on that surface, for example, the name of a person can become an entity, or the name of an organization or an event, for example. Of course, a product becomes an entity, a location, a venue becomes an entity. And by understanding this ontology of entity and the relationship between these entities, we can understand how the system then will be will be enticed to reason and also to search, because search is also changing. I mean, the GPT 5.4 introduces a radical new way of running the search tool. And this radical new way is way more effective. Search in GPT 5.4, it's working in a very interesting way, and I don't have enough analysis to prove you what I'm saying, but I have the perception that the quality of the search is increasing. And from what I'm seeing, they've been hiding the fan out as part of this process. But long story short, the system is reasoning harder, and it's harnessing search in a different way. And much like we have seen recently also happening in Claude, search is only one step. The system gets the data and then uses Python or other internal tools for filtering the information that is fed into the models for providing context. So, for example, in the case of an entity, I could clearly see that the system is retrieving the data from search, and then it's building this entity layer that is carried on during the conversation, so that the system is smarter in conducting the conversation. So I don't think, yes, information should be hidden from human by any means. But yeah.
Do you think that there's a risk that as the web some people say the web or AI is making the web become less transparent as it becomes more intelligent. Do you think there's this risk?
There's always a risk. I mean, technology is neutral. Yes, it's nor good nor bad, right? So there is always the human intention behind. And yes, there are, of course, many interests and different reasons why people want to decouple information between humans and agents. I don't want that. I want the two things to work together. So again, it's how we shape it. It's what is the intention behind the work that we do. Do we want to manipulate information to increase the citability of our pages? Or do we want to do marketing and grow the business? Good marketing is about growing business, and when you grow business, you don't do it for the sake of one spike. You do it for sustainable growth, which means that it's gonna continue working over time, and that means that it has to be also ethically responsible and a lot of other things. But yeah, not everyone is aligned with these ideas.
Yeah, 100%. So I'd like to close with one question that we'll probably revisit across this series. So what is one assumption about search or the web that you believe today that most people still get wrong? Also regarding the agentic SEO AI space.
What is yours? Let me ask you the question.
But I think that there's a lot of, people are very biased on AI. Like when I talk to my friends and I tell them what I do, there's very poor literacy about it. So I think that most people are actually getting it wrong. And I think that this is like why we have to own this space, right? To actually make them more literate and make them understand more that AI is not always bad.
AI is an original sin that we should never forget. AI is intended today. It's synonymous of large language model that have been trained on content unrightfully, and so that should not be forgotten. However, I agree that AI is neutral. It's nor bad nor good, and so it's about the way in which we inform things and the way in which we move our intention that makes it one way or another. I don't think that the literacy is low. I think that there is a natural repulsion for the tech stacks. Younger generation no longer look for any ads. Most of the ads business is not going to work for the new generation because they are aware. Inside, we were discussing with a museum that works with schools the other day, and they had a debate, I think, with middle schoolers. And most of the kids say that they don't want to have AI because they don't trust it. And I think that's actually a good results that we obtained as a community to inform the general public that there's still a long road ahead of us to make it trustworthy and safe. AI for a teenager isn't safe at all. And it's good that kids are saying, this is not safe, we don't want it in school. It is surprising because, if this would have been asked to my class back in the 80s, we would have jumped on any form of technology without any concern. So it is interesting that there is this evolution where the younger generation are way more concerned and scared about technology than
but
we
they're
were.
also native digital. They were born within this context.
But I think this is positive in a way. It tells that we have done some progress in education. But yes, I mean, of course, there is a long road ahead. Yeah, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. We have a few minutes left. I don't know if there are any questions from
I know that
from the
Mariana's
public.
question or Alexandra's question. They should. Just kidding.
Yeah. Not sure. People are being shy.
Don't be.
Maybe we kill them. So no, well, no questions here. So is there anything that you want to add? Any latest experiment research that
So
is
I'm
worth
going to
mentioning?
Rotterdam for the SailBrain meetup next week, and it's kind of a new thing, but we're going to talk about SEO in the infinite context world. So in an environment where the context window of language model is no longer an issue, and what we can do for helping the system understand more and better about our content. I think that's yes, this is a teaser for the next talk next week.
Great. We got a question from Marianne. So, has Google solved the memory problem with nested learning research?
I'm not too familiar, to be honest, with the paper. So I should go back and look at that again. There are a lot of approaches to solve the memory problem. As I was mentioning, we are entering into this area of infinite context, and there are really two approaches. One which is really kind of dependent on the scaling of the models and the scaling of the parametric memory, and the other one which is a more philosophical, where the nested learning approach falls. And I think that that's the direction that in any case we as a community, I expect we're going to pursue. We are investing a lot on the recursive language models, which is an approach that also similar to nested learning, where basically the agent can hover an environment to find information recursively without filling the context window. Now, if this has solved the problem, I don't think it has. I mean, to what I know, but I definitely will get back on the paper and try to learn. Again, I read it when it was out, but I should read it again.
Great. Then Alexander says that we have already talked about what he was going to ask.
Okay,
so...
That's good. I was expecting some request about geotactics. Give some, but
we've got another question. So what can we do
to
make your research more rigorous to be more meaningful?
This is a question
that's a good question.
I ask myself every day. So I do have an answer that, as Bea knows, I feel deeply for, which is I think research in SEO, because SEO is belongs to marketing, and marketing it is designed to serve the business. I think that the first real metric, as the North Polar Star, as someone would say, it has to be a business metrics. So whether this is growth intended in the form of more visibility, more sales, or more leads, but especially in the context of AI, where there is a clear asymmetry of information between the publisher and AI stack, we need to look very clearly about the business impact that we are generating. So when running SEO research, I think right now I'm starting to do more in-lab testing, because of course the possibility that we have with vibe coding and different development system, I can very quickly run control test. However, the real test is always in the real environment. So we want to start from a controlled, lab experiment, and then we want to move it into the web, and we want to measure the business impact, whatever that means for the area we're experimenting. Is there a ground truth for how to optimize a website for a machine user? I think that to this extent, then again, if the KPI is to run, for example, for my audit application or audits, that's a success KPI for the business. The more audits we can run, the more we are, producing value for the business in the end. Then the ground truth for the agent will be, how the experience is optimized in order to increase on the metrics. Again, we talk a lot about policies. This is a policy exactly expressed in this form. So I think that we should look at policies and KPIs.
Great. Great. I think we answered everything for now, and also we have just run out of time.
Cool.
So thank you, Andrea. It was great having you.
Yep.
And so we'll have another episode in April, more details to come. And thank you everyone for listening or watching and for interacting with us. Have a nice rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.